Uh, Good afternoon to all, and welcome to our session 3 of day 2. I'm audible, and
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, and the topic is perspective of effective teaching. And for this, we have with us Dr. Nalin Bharti, who is currently the head of Department of Humanities and Social Science in Indian Institute of Technology, Patna, and he has done his PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University, and his research specialized in macroeconomics, basically from economics, and the other expertise area are labor economics, WTO, and India. He is having a vast experience of professional contributions in various committees like in 12th Finance Commission, Government of India, Federation of India Chamber of Commerce and Industry, that is called FICCI, then Knowledge Community on Children in India, UNICEF, and many more. He is also a member of a number of national and international professional bodies, and also the editorial board member of various journals like Journal of Management and Public Policy, International Journal of Humanities and Social Sciences, and International Journal of History and Research. So I think with this, we as at the host institute, who is conducting this FDP, formally welcome you, sir. And now I am welcoming you, and now I'm handing to you to deliver the topic on perspective of effective teaching. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Behra. It was really a great opportunity to meet a large number of participants joining this FDP, and that too on a very important topic, especially when the entire world and including India is fighting with COVID-19. Effective teaching becomes more important when we are already having a situation like pandemic. So let me share my presentation first, and then we'll start.
There is a small arrow mark, sir.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
I know. I'm just trying to find out. Is it visible now?
It is visible. It is visible, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let me start this particular topic on perspective of effective teaching. Before discussing effective teaching, I thought I should interact with you on what is teaching. And after the end of this presentation, I will also try to take some questions, and I will try to have your comments and your experience on teaching and also on the effective teaching. But as we know that teaching is the process of attending to people's need. Education is the people's need today. No government can ignore this special need. And in India, it is the right for the children to have the education. And the people's experiences and feelings and making specific interventions to help them learn particular things. So teaching is all about transforming an individual into a new individual. So that's why education becomes very important in the entire development process. Across the country, we have seen that wherever there was a better education system, wherever there was better teaching system, good teachers, we found that there was good outcome in terms of human development, and that too in terms of human development index and good citizens. So teaching is transforming the entire society. So we cannot ignore that teaching is a sideline activity of any society. It is a prime activity of any society. So we must understand what is teaching and what is effective teaching in the country like India, and also in many parts of the world. So generally, we are looking at teaching as a specific process, part of what we do as educators, animators, and different pedagogies are used for teaching these days. So we cannot really we cannot really define our teaching just the classroom activity. Today, those people who are active in the animation business and presenting lots of videos and video clips, they are also very much influencing the children's mind today. And there are new methods of teaching coming out in different countries. And I will also try to, in the last of the lecture, I will also try to connect with this effective teaching with the current COVID-19 pandemic. But overall, teaching is not a joke. Teaching is entirely a entire reforming process of human being, reforming process for the society, for the state. And it must not be ignored by anyone. Neither it is by the student, nor it is by the teacher, neither it is by the institution, nor it is by the state. So any ignorance at any level is going to hamper not only an individual but the entire society. That comes in mind in my mind when I am defining teaching. What is teaching? So little more on this teaching is the concentrated sharing of knowledge and experience. A teacher who has no experience cannot be a good teacher. I remember when I was asked to teach a topic in microeconomics in Shahid Bhagat Singh Evening College as a student of Jawaharlal Nehru University. I started teaching first at Shahid Bhagat Singh Evening College, and the principal told me to meet me in the college, and I went there. I met him, and he said that how free you are today. I said, sir, I am free because I don't have library visit and other work today. So please tell me if anything required to discuss. I am here to discuss. So principal said that nothing to discuss, but what I want is you simply go to the class today, and you have two sections to teach. One section you have to teach microeconomics in English medium. Another section you have to teach microeconomics in Hindi medium. So it was a great challenge for me. I was having zero experience in teaching. It was my first class, and it was 40 minutes lecture. My lecture in English was over in 20 minutes because I was not fully prepared. I was not having any experience. The bookish knowledge which you have is not working at all when you are in the classroom. You have to have little more knowledge about the society, little more knowledge about the surroundings. You must have the knowledge about some experiences by the other people and your own experiences in the field of teaching, because I don't consider teaching only teaching is not at all a function of the book which I have read and which you have read, but teaching is all about how you are interlinked with the society, how you are interlinked with the newspaper, day-to-day activities of the society, the surroundings, the environment, and then only it is reflected somewhere in your good teaching. So my experience was zero, and I was very nervous, and I was not prepared for the lecture. Principal never told me that once I will visit the college, I will simply ask to go and teach, because it was the ad hoc appointment and temporary appointment. So there was no teacher at that for that particular section. And the principal said, I have no choice, and you have to go to the classroom, you have to teach. And once it is satisfactory, then we are going to have the appointment for you. in the next week. So next 3 days, I had to come to the college and I had to teach the class. I had no other option. I said, okay, I will be preparing something. The next lecture was not over in 20 minutes, but it was again over in 25 minutes. So I was wondering that why it is over in 20 minutes. I was preparing for theory of demand, elasticity of demand. I was doing lots of job on paper before the class, but why my lecture went in 20 minutes? Why my lecture was over in 20 minutes? I realized that lecturing on a topic doesn't require only the book's knowledge, but you have to connect with various examples when you are teaching a subject in the classroom. You have to come out some examples. You have to make the class very lively, because whatever you are teaching, that is already written in the book. But when you are in the classroom, you must go beyond the book. You must connect the student with the day-to-day examples, and then only you will be considered as a good teacher. I started working hard. After 1 year of teaching, continuously teaching at Bhagat Singh College, I had an opportunity to face some interview at Nalsar University of Law and also Hidayatullah National Law University. The crowd was, you know that the crowd was again the BA first year student, and my experience at Bhagat Singh College had helped me to have more organized lecture and more satisfactory lecture for the students at the time. So it is all about how you are fully prepared with your knowledge and experience, which is generally organized within a discipline, and more generally the provisions of a stimulus to the psychological and intellectual growth of a person by another person or artifact. So the teaching is not at all the knowledge which we keep in the knowledge which we gather from the book, but it is all about the various other aspects which I discussed today, and psychologically, intellectually, discipline-wise, in terms of knowledge, in terms of your previous experience, everything becomes very important, and then only you will be in the position to really interact with some other person. So I have 2 questions for this FDP to interact. The first question is, if teaching has these definitions and objectives, then why we need an effective teaching? And my second question is, if we really need an effective teaching, then what can be the component of an effective teaching? So let me struggle with my first question, and then I will also try to interact with you. So why to have an effective teaching if in the beginning I have discussed what is teaching? So effective teaching, it offers a safe and orderly environment, both physically and emotionally, so a student can achieve their potential. Suppose I'm in the classroom, but I'm not fully prepared. I do not know what I have to teach. I have no idea what is the level of the student. I have no idea whether the classroom is comfortable or not. Inside the classroom, suppose there is no leg space for the student. There is humid classroom, very hot and humid classroom. Students are not able to sit properly. They are not at all comfortable. As a teacher, you are also facing sweating, and you are not prepared. And the students are not aware that what type of teacher you are. This type of situation is really making you a very bad performer in the classroom. So effective teaching is really possible when you offer so many things all together. A very safe class, orderly environment, physically and emotionally you are very active, and the student can only achieve their potential in that situations. So effective teachers know students learn best if they are in a classroom where they feel safe and confident to attempt new tasks, even if at first they are unsure about how to tackle them. So when we are asking a question in the classroom, when we are interacting with the student, we don't know what will be the answer, and the student don't know what is the answer to that question. But the moment when the student is feeling safe that the teacher is not going to punish me, teacher is not going to say anything about the bad answer, the student's answer the students' participation will be more and more better compared to the situation when the students are not aware that what type of answer is expected and what answer I should give. So when you have a very safe, communicative environment, interactive environment, you are confident, students are also confident, classrooms are very lively, then in that case, you have large participation, and the student will be motivated to attempt the new task, even if they are not sure about the answer, they are not sure about what will be the reaction of an examiner or what will be the reaction of a teacher. Reaction means not only in terms of negative, but in terms of positive reaction. And ultimately, teaching, the previous teaching, which has these objectives that you have to transform the people, the effective teaching tells you how you are going to transform the people, how you are going to really make a new individual. So making a new individual is the motive of the teaching, but how to make a new individual is basically the effective teaching. So little more on effective teaching. Effective teaching needs criteria for effectiveness. These criteria are referring to the objectives of education in general and of teaching in particular. So today and tomorrow, government schools and the government officials are asking the school teachers that what is basically the outcome of these students after 8th standard or 10th standard. So Bihar board comes out with the result, other state board comes out with the result, and they are showing that 88% or 90% of our kids were passed in the exam. Out of these students, 50% got first class, 40% got second class, and these are the performance of the students. And somehow government is also establishing this fact that our teaching at the government schools are going on very well, and that is the reason that our students are able to pass this examination and they are able to qualify the examination in large number. So the different criteria refers to the objective of educations, and these criteria, the vision about the criteria are the result of political, societal debate, but educational professionals, teachers, and schools can also take part in it. So yesterday I heard this news that Netherlands is the only country in the world which is completely COVID-free. And 3 months before, I heard this news that Netherlands is the only country, they are not compromising with the primary school, opening of the primary school during the COVID-19 situation also. Because for them, education is the very, very important priority. Almost every country in the Nordic nations, Netherlands, Denmark, Ireland, these countries, they don't consider education as a byproduct. They consider education as a main product, prime product for the society, and they do not want to deviate from this particular goal. So the vision of the political parties in some countries, even the society is very much concerned about the vision about the education. From Poland, Poland is not a very, very developed country in Europe, but I can tell you the example from the Poland. The government of Poland is very much concerned about the education these days, and before COVID-19 situation, I had an opportunity to interact with some parents, and they were telling me that for all such small kids, if the parents has to drop them to the school, the parents are allowed to drop the kids in the morning, and they can join the any government office or private office 1 hour late or 1.5 hours late, because they have a small kid and the kids are the priority for the government. And so the parents are given this window time, 1 hour extra time to drop the kids and then come back. Similarly, when they have to bring the students, when they have to bring the kids from the schools, they are again given 1.5 hour extra time before the end of the class of the kids. They are supposed to go to the school to pick the kids, and the offices are completely, government is giving this direction that they are free to go and bring the kids from the school, and they are doing it. Not only that, most of the heavy traffic, school timings are different from the heavy traffic times. Most of the schools are before the traffic starts, and most of the schools will be closed before the traffic starts again in the evening. So I was really worried that how a small country can think about such big you can say positive aspect in education. Education is not only about teaching the student in the classroom. Education is also effective teaching also includes how the state feels about the teaching, how the society as a whole feels about this, about the teaching. So I was interacting in Patna with some vendors who sells vegetables long time back in 2010, and I asked that whether you are sending your kids to the school, and they said yes, we are sending the schools to the kids. I asked them what time they are going to the schools. So they said we are sending these kids to the schools around 12 o'clock. I said what time? 12 o'clock? 12 o'clock? No, government schools starts mostly. The government schools starts at around 9 or 10. Why you are sending it at 10 o'clock? They said they are not going to the government schools. Then I asked where they are going. They said they are going to the schools where there are coaching centers, private coaching centers in nearby area. So some tutors are there and they are teaching our kids. And they are charging a very good amount, 400, 500 rupees from each kids. And they are going there. So I was wondering that why these kids are going at 12 o'clock. And they said they're going at 12 o'clock because in the morning they are helping us in some of the business activities which I am running. So the kids in the morning are busy with the parents, and the parents are not really educated, so they don't know what is the value of the education. And the state funded institutions are not aware where the kids are. So those kids, those who are going to the schools, they are connected with the schools, but those kids away from the schools have no idea where the kids are. And the kids have no idea that where the schools are. But in between schools and kids, there is a coaching institutions. They are asking for money. They are taking money from the kids. And these kids are paying, their parents are paying a hefty amount to these kids. So it's all about vision, that the political vision and societal vision is how clear about the education. And it's not about the school education, also about the higher education. What is the condition of higher education in many countries in the world, including India? So there are many new initiatives by the government of India these days, but at the same time, we can also see the past that how education, higher education was again not as good as many smaller countries nearby, and also many smaller countries of the world, which has shown that how education can be an important component in the development process. So effective teaching includes also the vision about the criteria of the political party and societal debate, but at the same time, professionals, teachers, schools, bureaucrats, teachers, and our other societal partners cannot ignore their role in effective teaching. So I remember in the government school, when I was the student of the government school in 1988, and before that, hardly out of 8 hours, 4 classes before lunch, 4 classes after lunch, hardly out of eight classes, hardly any classes were missed out by the teacher. So that was the dedication of the teacher, and the schools were full in their capacity in terms of number of students and in terms of the number of teachers. All teachers were well educated. So I never had the regret that my teachers were not the good teachers. My school was not having a very good infrastructure. Today, the same infrastructure without the teacher and without the students are not bringing any new change in the society. That is the bad luck for the states like Bihar, where we have to have more better teachers and more better participation from the society, better participation from the political uh, 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 political parties as well as the all professionals. So effective teaching, not at all the teaching by the teachers only in my mind, but it is also about how we are visionizing or how we are having the vision to carry on the teaching ahead. So there may be 4 components of an effective teaching: the planning, instruction, management, and interpersonal relations. But before that, I will ask the Mariam to run the video on effective teaching, and the link has been provided here in my slide below. So Mariam, can you start this video now?
Yes, I am doing that.
Yes, yes.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Is it audible, sir?
Meet
Yeah,
Andy.
audible, but video is not running.
Andy is a 3rd grade teacher. Andy thinks she is ready. She made all A's in her classes, received
Video is not
excellent
coming.
letters of
Video is-
recommendations from.
See the
Audio
video?
is coming, but video is not coming.
I think you have shared the screen. If you could
Yeah.
stop sharing the screen, then I can do that one.
So just a minute.
Yeah, yes, yes.
How to?
Just stop sharing will be there. Stop
Ah.
sharing your, yeah, then I can proceed. I think you have stopped the share. Okay,
Yeah.
I will do now. I will do.
Okay, okay.
Window. Then I can go here. दिखाई दे रहा है?
From her faculty and passed. Meet Andy.
Hope now.
Andy
now
is starting her
sir?
first day as a.
No, still video is not. Video is not coming.
Okay. Only the audio.
Yeah, only the audio is coming.
Okay. Okay. I think I will share this link to the participant. Then I will run the.
And participant can run the video on their handsets.
Yes, they can watch from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will do that.
So I can also share the link just now.
Yes. Yeah. So
we have also shared in the group also. They can view from that.
Okay. Meanwhile, you can run the audio.
okay. I can do that.
Yeah. Because if some student participants are not having the video access, then
Yes.
they can have the audio at least.
Meet Andy. Andy is starting her first day as a 3rd grade teacher. Andy thinks she is ready. She made all A's in her classes, received excellent letters of recommendations from her faculty, and passed all of her certification exams with high marks. Oh, here come Andy's students. Let's follow Andy through her first year as a teacher. Effective teaching does not occur naturally. Effective teaching is not achieved through simply knowing educational principles and theories. Effective teaching is not like a one-size-fits-all t-shirt. In order for effective teaching to occur, teachers must master professional knowledge and skills, perform reflection activities, and seek out opportunities for professional growth. Let's check in on Andy. It's her 3rd week. Oh, it looks like Andy is having a rough morning. Maybe some veteran teachers can help her out on her path to becoming an effective teacher. In order to be effective, a teacher must be a subject matter expert. Being a subject matter expert is more than just having a general knowledge of facts and concepts. Being a subject matter expert includes knowledge about organizing ideas, connections among ideas, ways of thinking and arguing, and patterns of change within a discipline, beliefs about discipline, and the ability to carry ideas from one discipline to another. An effective teacher must also know pedagogical content knowledge. This is knowledge about effective methods of teaching a specific content area. Effective teachers have a large number of strategies for teaching. They are also aware of common errors students tend to make and can anticipate when difficult situations may arise out of student frustration or lack of understanding. An effective teacher must engage in critical thinking, which is the process of evaluating the accuracy and worth of research and information. An effective teacher will engage in critical thinking to not only analyze what he or she reads as best teaching practices, but also use critical thinking to analyze what the student's reasoning and thought processes might be. This may help to catch misconceptions and minimize classroom frustration levels. An effective teacher must engage in reflection, internally and externally. Internal reflection refers to assessing one's self-efficacy as a teacher.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I will again share my content. So I am going to interact with you on 4 components of an effective teaching. In the video also you have seen that how effective teaching is analyzed, and it was clearly mentioned that it is not about what the theory and ideas which we are doing, but it's also about how we are really innovative in our teaching. So let me first discuss what is planning. So planning means meeting objectives of the curriculum and syllabus. When we are supposed to teach something, we must meet what is basically the objective of this particular curriculum. And as mentioned in the video also, the mastery of the subject area, we must prepare what we have to teach. We must see that what are basically the syllabus assigned to me, and accordingly, what are the subtopics and topics which we have to cover and how we will cover, what portion we should cover before the mid-semester, what portion we should cover after the mid-semester. And sometime the teacher is knowing better than the student that what topic must be covered before. Whether it is the theory of demand which has to be covered before, or whether it is the theory of cost which has to be covered before. And whether the theory of supply and demand should come together, or whether the theory of supply should come after the end of the microeconomics. So these things are only dependent on when we are practicing our various teaching style, teaching methods, and only through the experience we can understand that what topic can be covered by a teacher before starting the new topic. So designing different pedagogy such as stating objectives, modeling activities, guiding practices, checking for understanding, feedback and evaluation, and review and closure. So it is sometimes the teachers are also saying that what will be the steps of the activities, where the student will be participating, how many quizzes they will be conducting, what type of questions will be asked. The quizzes will be multiple choice or whether it will be subjective, and what are basically the guiding practice for a teacher and also for the student. What understanding our students are having, that has to be a check and balance, and sometimes the quizzes are one of the major source of such understanding. Sometimes we do take the feedback, we do have the evaluation system. In IITs, NITs, we have the feedback system when the students are sending their comments, and we have to review our performance as a teacher. We have to review the performance of the students. Designing materials that supports the lessons, promote interactions, integrate appropriate methodologies, and are appropriate for the effective teaching. So learning new techniques and keeping applied research is again one of the important tools as a part of the planning. So in terms of instruction, which is the second component of the effective teaching, so instructions must include the different methodologies appropriate for the class. For example, if I have a very small class, it is better to involve those participants, those students in the more interactive mode. If you have a large class, for example, 300 and 400 students, you cannot be interactive during the class because you have a large group of students in the classroom. So you have to have a lecture method, and then those students can interact with the TAs, teaching assistant of your class. So providing balance of teachers, student talk. Sometimes teachers are only seeing the blackboard. They are not seeing the student, and the students are involved in their chatting, their own discussion. They are not very much concentrating on the teacher's delivery. So there must be eye-to-eye contact when there is a small group. Even in the large classroom, you must be facing the student. It is not only the board which you have to face again and again. Making effective use of media, illustrations, and resources. Generally, I remember one of my teachers, which was very old, and he used to only read the notes, the class notes which he had prepared 20 years before. The class was so monotonous that we were always feeling then that when the when the class is going to end. And the moment when he used to declare that this is the end of the class, we used to become very happy because there was nothing new in the class. So using media, illustration, and resources. I had an opportunity to interact with Professor John Taylor at Stanford University, and you know that Professor Taylor is known for his contribution at the Taylor curve, and he was also the economic advisor to President George Bush. So I had this curiosity to ask him that what teaching methodology he's using, because I heard that in Stanford he is one of the most popular teacher, and he's always teaching 850 students all together in an auditorium. So I asked Professor Taylor, what methodology, what book you are referring for your classroom? So he was laughing. He said that I am not at all looking for the books, because for years and years we were in the books. Now it is important that how you are motivating the students with the current social media debate, how you are illustrating some of the things through the online materials, other resources, which is far away from the student reach. If you are bringing all these things in the classroom teaching as an instructor, your class becomes very, very important and popular. So using effective questioning techniques, the students sometimes are nervous. They don't know what to answer. So questions should be also very much clear from the instructor side. So stating intended outcome to the lessons. Generally, we finish the lesson, we don't conclude, we don't discuss that what is basically the final outcome, what is basically the final conclusion of the entire discussion. A teacher must do in the last. Modeling new activities to ensure understanding of the task. Whatever theory we are teaching, if we are bringing some of the activities in the class or after the class, the students are more motivated to understand that what is basically going on in the class. So my experience in IIT Patna, when I was teaching theory of cost, the students were not very interested, but when I sent them to the Hero Cycle in Beta, and I asked them that you go and you see the factory, you talk to the managers there, and you talk that what are basically the fixed cost and variable cost, how they are managing their cost, what are basically the price determination, which principles which they are following, what type of product diversification they are doing, how they are managing the cost and revenue. So a student, after coming back from Hero Cycle in different batch, the student participated in that discussion, And thanks to HeroCycle Patna that they have also involved these students in participation. And after that, when they were coming back, they said that, sir, it was a very lively discussion, and I now enjoyed what is theory of cost. So it all depends on how you are motivating the student, what type of new activities you are including in your teaching, providing guided practice. Generally, there are so many things which you have taught in the last batch, but you feel that the students are staying together, so they will take some notes from the seniors. Sometimes seniors are not helping. So it is the instructor's responsibility to understand the problem of the student and help them. And monitoring student progress, even 10 minutes interaction with the PhD student and the master student, the BTech student. In IT, I feel that when the 10 minutes, 15 minutes interaction on the progress happens, it becomes very much encouraging for the student that the progress which I was doing, the questions asked by my supervisor is really on that progress, and my supervisor remember that what was my last point of progress and what is the new progress he is remembering at before the interaction. So sometime when the student starts about seeing the progress, discussing the progress, it is important that you must prepare that what my student is having, what my student's progress is, and what questions I should ask for the further, and how I can guide them for the further progress. A student understanding and the teacher's understanding will be always having a gap. Whatever I understand, our student doesn't understand. For example, one of my PhD students, when I used to correct her draft chapters through the Word system, and when I used to give her the soft copy back with my comments and added points, she was it is called track change. In the track change, you are commenting, and these comments are hidden somewhere. These comments are in the side somewhere. And when I asked her that why, and she was not able to really work on those comments, and I asked that why there is a problem that again and again, whenever the new drafts I am seeing, I am finding the same problems you are bringing again, and you are not able to correct it. So I was really upset that why she is not listening to me, because it was the third draft in that I am finding that there is a problem and she is not able to correct it. But I had this suspicion that probably she is not doing the further correction in the draft sent to her, but she is doing correction in the draft which she has saved in her computer. So I asked a simple question that in which draft you are doing these corrections, whether you are doing these corrections in your desktop file, and she simply said, yes sir, I am doing it in my desktop file. Then I got this point that as long as she will do all these corrections in the desktop file, she will not be able to really look all those comments which has been added to and which has been already corrected to the draft. So then I suggested her that whatever correction you are doing, you must do it in the last draft sent to you, not in your desktop draft, because this will be again having the similar problems which I have already corrected. So understanding of the student, checking understanding of the student in terms of knowledge and also in terms of technologically is very important today. You probably know that your student is very hardworking, but the student might not be aware that what new softwares are available to analyze the data. So devoting appropriate time to task and spiralation on previously learned materials, all these things are very important points for the classroom teaching. As in instructors, there are so many points which a effective teacher can include. And it all depends on the experience of the teacher that how these points they are including during the classroom. Let me also briefly discuss the management and one more point. management includes the establishing and enforcing consistent class rules. So your students are more aware that what type of teacher you are. One of my vice chancellor told me that it is important. Do you know this fact that before you reach your performance, your merit is reaching to the institution. So why it happens? Because the students are interlinked. So whenever you are going somewhere, before you reach there, your message has been reached there. Your merits and demerits are reached there. So class rules, enforcing class rules doesn't mean that you should be always strict, but you should be knowing, your student must be knowing that what has to be acceptable and what has not to be acceptable to a teacher. And this rules is very simple rule, that what maximum points, what maximum things you can accept, and what has to be rejected. Keeping class on target, avoiding digressions, controlling potentially disruptive behavior, being dependable and responsible, homework and on time, going on time is very important, being organized and prepared, making good use of time, and managing group work effectively. So these are the management tools for an effective teaching. As we have also seen in the video, we have also heard in the video that preparation and organizing the lecture, organizing the class becomes very important for a responsible teacher. And if you do these practice, you will be always considered as a serious teacher, and your lecture will certainly have a different impact on the student's mind. The fourth point, interpersonal relation. Establish positive rapport with the students. Be open to learn from the students. There are many problems we don't know, many software I don't know, many data analysis techniques I don't know. But it is always important to interact with the student, that how you got this result, what are the tools, how you filter the data, how you fit your research questions, and you interact with those students. And certainly students can also tell you that what is right sometime. And we should not ignore the student that what they are knowing. Keep students involved and actively participating. Generally, we teach and we forget. The student also got the lecture and finally they also forget. So this forgetting education is not the effective education. The education which will be always remembered, that is the effective teaching, effective education. So to have that type of activities, many schools in Patna and in many parts of the country during this COVID-19 situation also, they were having active participation through the online activities, and they are trying to involve the student in different participations and giving them a feel of the classroom. So concern for students and their problems. The students may come with their many problems, and probably the solutions may not be in your hand, but if you give them a positive feedback that give us some time, we will be able to solve your problem, then it is more better. Motivate and inspire students to learn. And as a teacher, as an instructor, it is our responsibility to motivate, not to demotivate. A student don't know many theories. A student don't know what to read. But if we demotivate them that you are not able to read, you will never read these things, and you are useless, then this type of statement and this type of behavior is not only killing the future of that student, but it is equally killing your future, because in coming years you will be known as demotivating teacher, and you will not be considered as a positive teacher, but you will be considered as a demotivating and negative role player in the society. So interpersonal relation, that is the last point of the effective teaching, becomes very important today, and we should not ignore this these points as a part of interpersonal relations. Coming back to the COVID-19 and effective teaching, we all know that why we are organizing this online FDP, because due to the COVID-19, we are not in the position to interact and to meet each other and to have a live classroom conditions. This pandemic has created the largest disruptions of the education system in the world history, affecting nearly 1.6 billion learners in more than 190 countries and all continents. Closure of schools and other learning spaces have impacted 94% of the world's student population and up to 99% in the low and lower middle income countries. That is the policy brief on education during COVID-19 and beyond that was published by United Nations. So when this COVID-19 situation, before that, we have seen that there is a digital divide in India, and this is still a major issue for online education in India and many other countries. Many students are still not having internet connectivity. They don't have a smartphone and computers, and internet is not with everyone. That is one of the biggest challenge. If that would have been minimized, the online teaching would have been more effective. So apart from these issues, the feel of classroom teaching is also missed out during this COVID-19 situation. Virtual interaction cannot be a substitute for a live classroom teaching, but still the world has many educational activities going on. Before we conclude, we can watch this video too. Mariam, can you share this link to the participants, the last video link?
Yes, I will do. I will just copy that one and I will send it to the participants.
And then we can play the at least audio.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Let me stop the sharing first.
Now I can run, sir.
Yeah. I stopped sharing now.
Dearest Emma, do what you can, but most of all, take care of you and keep
Is it audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
perspective. This is just a blip in time. I saw this quote and it inspires me. I hope it inspires you. Hope and fear cannot occupy the same space at the same time. Invite one to stay. This is really hard. Let's just face it. And one last piece of advice, skip the cheese and eat more chocolate. Mrs. P.
As educators and citizens, how do we move forward from here? Do we accept the systems that have failed too many for too long? Or do we acknowledge each of our own parts in what has happened? In doing so, can we think about how we can build a through line to a more inclusive, better tomorrow?
This was not a plan that any of us had to be home and educating from home. So this is trauma education.
And I wonder if our students still feel part of our school spirit, of our community. And if they don't, what are they currently wanting or joining right now?
What would we design the school system like if it was designed for the parents and the families that we actually serve? When we come out of this, we're going to look at the role the school system plays a lot differently and start by asking parents, what do we want to do together to provide for your children and for you?
I look around the world and I see my fellow educators embracing everything from new programs to technologies to synchronous learning to doing virtual classrooms.
I've learned that I can be a better educator in terms of planning and innovation, but it takes a whole lot more time. And I have used the Zoom sessions actually to just check in on the personal, emotional well-being of my kids, and have found that to be delightful in that I've gotten to know a whole lot more about them by using it that way.
We are such a social group of people as educators, and we need to make sure that we are being social with our kids, because that's when it's going to be what keeps them going and keeps those kids in balance, keeps us in balance, and keeps our teaching in balance.
I believe that as educators, this is our time to come together and design new types of educational systems firmly rooted in an equity access framework. One that looks to a future that has opportunity for all, not just for privileged few.
And I hope that we all can come out bigger and better from this. I hope that we can look at equity and try to close those gaps in the digital divide and also other areas.
I'm ready to work meaningfully, seek out those who have gone AWOL, bake a crust pizza, put a marshmallow in that cone to stop the good stuff from dripping out, play music until my music fingers ache, and I don't even know how to play music, and get up every day ready to run that race over and over again.
And I was committed, like so many of my fellow educators, to do the best we could in these times to make sure that we presented the best learning opportunities for our students, because we're teachers and that's what we're going to do. And there's a brave new world of education coming, and we're going to be at the front of this because that's what our kids deserve.
Yes, I think that is over.
Yes, sir.
So that was the end of my talk. I will be very interested if you will have any questions, any comments, any point of interaction after that.
Can I ask the participant if any queries they have, they can ask directly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So I'm I'm unmuting everyone. If okay, now I've allowed all the participants. They can directly ask the questions. So just put your name and yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Sir, I am Rifti Chand from Chandigarh, and I am working with one of the universities here as assistant professor, and I am a faculty of HR.
Okay.
My question to, first of all, thank you so much, sir. Much weighted session. As faculty, I'm sure everybody wants to know best how can they make their classroom teaching effective. So thank you so much, first of all, for such a beautiful presentation, sir. But my question to you, sir, is like I'm an HR. I do not talk about finance, or I do not talk about data with my subjects. How to make theoretical class interesting? How do we make theoretical? How do we make theoretical class interesting, sir?
Yeah. First of all, I think if I can take one by one.
I'm requesting participant, please mute your audio once you put your questions.
Yeah. One more participant has to mute the audio.
Yes, I am Bairagi Patro.
Yeah, just a minute. Mr. Patra, I will take up your question. Okay. Once I will finish this question, then I will take up your question also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So let me answer this question. The question was on human resource management teaching and how to make the class more interesting. So see, one side is the theory and the other examples which is in the books. Other side is your experience and other resources online available, and your case-based studies if you have done or in the nearby area. So connecting classroom with the day-to-day example was one of the important points which, when I was discussing the hero cycle story, when I was teaching the theory of cost for 2-3 years, I never allowed the student to go and visit the industry. But the moment I have allowed the student to visit the industry, they were more concerned about understanding what type of new cost can be added to the industry. So my point is how you can motivate them to know something which is not in the book, and then coming back to the book, bringing them out from the book, again making them in the book. So this practice is important practice, and as a teacher we must follow this type of practice because the theory is monotonous, but the practical part and the practice in the society is always new, always motivating, always novel, always innovative. So we must bring the student out from the book, and then we can always bring them back to the book. So out from the book and back to the book, through the field work, through the field visit, through some interaction outside the world, is always going to help us. And human resource management is one of the area where you can do this. That I am very much sure. And that too in the city like Chandigarh and nearby, you have those opportunities.
Sure, sir. I'll take care, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your guidance.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Arun sir, can I ask question?
Yes, yes.
Bairagi Patra speaking, asking question as a teacher in a multilingual class setting, is language a barrier, or how to make a barrier mother tongue influence or language pronunciation? How can it be effective? Can you use soft skill, body language? So please explain how to make a multilingual class effective through language.
I understood your question. Probably you are teaching in Bengal, and probably the majority of the students are from Bengali medium.
Yeah.
And probably the instruction of the medium instruction is in English. So this is the problem in most of the states run schools and also in the colleges in Odisha, in Bengal, in Tamil Nadu. But what you can do is, whenever you are dealing with any concept in English, you can use Google Translator. You can use some of the software that is available, and they can also translate some of the points, some of the theories, some of the information in the local language, and maybe you can continue with your English instruction, but meanwhile you can also translate in local language while delivering your lecture. The student will be well connected when you are already giving them something in Bangla and something in English. Always better to mix the learning mode, and you can also use some of the translated version. And another thing which one of the Korean professor told me, because in Korea they are not teaching in English, but most of the everything they have to teach in the Korean language. Similarly in Japan, similarly in China. So even the good books of economics, they have translated in Korean. And then I asked a question that in Samuelson book written by Samuelson, a American economist, how you are translating those American examples. So they said wherever there are examples from United States, we are bringing our own country example. So wherever you are finding any example from other part of the country, you bring example from the local Bengal, West Bengal. So the student will be more motivated to understand the local example compared to the examples of Bangalore or Mumbai. So these are experiments. These are few experiments which you can do before you are going to the class. You can prepare something, and you can do magic in the classroom, and you can be always remembered by the student.
Thank you, Nalin sir, Nalin Bharti sir. Very young, dynamic concept is here. Your presentation is very nice presentation. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Preetha, sir. Sir, in the components of teaching, the fourth point where you dealt with this, the interpersonal relations. Yes, interpersonal relations. So basically, in case of offline teaching, that is classroom teaching, that is basically, so we do interact with the students, and the interpersonal relationship will be at a different level. Why? Because we will be interacting lively at different levels, like emotional, moral, likewise, etc. So now in this COVID era where everything basically it is virtual, till now it is going virtual. So can you just enlighten us in a way how to maintain that particular thing? The fourth point, that is the interpersonal relation.
Yeah.
Can you just enlighten us?
Yeah, I can give you the example of interpersonal relation. So the teacher must be problem solving. And the example is one of my student was absent from the assignment presentation. And then next day he wrote me that, sir, I was absent. So just saying that I was absent was not enough. So I told him that you can also explain why you were absent. And he said that, sir, I was COVID positive and last 15 days I was not able to work. So the communication gap during the classroom, suppose during the classroom you had some information, but if you will leave following those information, a student will be again felt you can say disjointed from the class. So it is the responsibility of the teacher to follow the student why he was absent, whether it is his health problem, whether it is a problem by the for the technology by the technology, or it is a problem which as a teacher or instructor by the instructor there is any problem. So if a teacher is understanding a student's problem, then it is always better to help them out. Yesterday's example I can give you from a teacher of physics in IIT. So there is a preparatory course going on, and the person is teaching physics. So the teacher was writing some formula through his tablet, and he said that you can read the formula. So another student said, sir, I cannot read the formula. So he said that most of the students are able to read. Why you are not able to read? Then finally the student said, sir, I am visually disabled. So even in the online classroom, as a teacher, I should be very prompt, very active to understand the student problem. And the moment you are able to understand the student's problem, student will finally understand you as a teacher. Teacher's responsibility is not only to finish the syllabus. Teacher's responsibility to make a new individual. That is the point which I wanted to bring in my lecture in the first half. So we have to make a new society. We have to bring the new change in the society. So we are not only responsible to finish the syllabus, but we have to nurture the future of this country. And that's why few countries in the world is more ahead compared to India. And it is the teachers' contribution that has brought many good, brilliant people in the world. And those teachers and their contributions cannot be ignored, because they were not only looking for finishing the syllabus, but they were very much worried for nurturing the students for the country's future. So that must be our objective. That is the point.
Yes. Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for this elaborate answer. Thank you.
I think Ripti Chand wants to ask some questions.
Yeah.
If you can hear my voice, put your questions, please.
No, sir. My earlier one is clear, sir.
Okay. Anyone from the participant wants to ask?
No question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Shivani.
Ji, sir. Sir, my question is about the falling attendance levels in schools and colleges. Both we are seeing that the attendance levels of students are falling down because you know, a lot of things they are available online. So they students tend to feel that you know, whatever are going to spend a lot of hours in schools or in colleges, they can quickly do like a Google search or 15-20 minute, not even Google search, but like YouTube videos and all which are available. Like within 15-20 minutes they can you know, read about it, or they can listen to the audio lecture and all. So what can be the effective methods, and how can we make the classroom such that children tend to come to school or come to colleges, you know, so that attendance levels are not falling? And where do we see, like in the current situation sometimes makes me feel maybe in the next 5 to 10 years the importance of schools and colleges will disappear, because students are right now only, they are not ready to come to school because they just feel that 15-20 minutes they'll be able to do whatever the teacher is going to spend 1 hour on in school.
Yeah. The question is very much valid, but I don't think there will be no need and no requirement of schools in India and in other country, as long as we as a teacher is very much innovative, very much novel, and very much hardworking. The access which students are having, if we are also depending our lecture on the same access, our lecture will not be treated as a very fruitful or very important lecture for them. So we have to see beyond the students' access and student resources. Teachers' resources are not only the thing which is available online, but teachers' resources are the books, teachers' resources are the society, teachers' resources are the examples, the illustrations which they can bring from their hard work. So anything bringing new, anything bringing something very challenging to the students are the only community which can take any challenge at any time. That I understand. So if you are able to provide them a challenging task with some motivation, you will find out your students' participation will be very high. So it's not only about the dropout or the attendance, but it's also about the degradation in our teaching style and our motivation to teach. We as a teacher are busy in so many things, but as a teacher, we should also ask that how motivated we are for preparing the lecture, how motivated we are for preparing the exercises, illustrations for the classroom, how we are really thinking about the newness in our classroom and outside the classroom. So within the classroom, before the classroom, after the classroom, beyond the classroom, 4 principles has to work together. Before the classroom, within the classroom, after the classroom, beyond the classroom. If at 4 different levels we are active, prompt, innovative, our students are not going to leave us. They will continuously join our classes. But the moment we are lazy, not active, not working properly, we will be left out. We will be forgotten. We are only forgetting so many teachers. We are only remembering only 2 types of teachers, those who were very brilliant teachers and those who were very strict teachers. So you have to become completely different when we are in the teaching. Slowly we have lots of other things in our life, but we don't know what has to be done as a teacher is not only our performance in the classroom, before the classroom also, after the classroom also, beyond the classroom also.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any more questions? Please ask. So there is a question in the chat box. Muvendan and sir, kindly suggest technique to manage mixed ability classes.
Kindly suggest techniques to manage mixed ability classes.
Yes.
So mixed ability means when the students are not in the same ability. Yes. The students have a mixed ability. Some students are brilliant, some students are not very brilliant. How to motivate them? Yeah. So my point is that is obvious in any classroom that most of the participants in the classroom will not be at the same level, and there is no requirement also that all the students should be at the same level. You must have a diversity in the classroom. This diversity brings many students in a new direction, because when you have a competition, you have to bring the competition in that type of situation, and the competition comes with the creativity of the teachers. When the teachers are giving some task and the students are performing them, you design the students in the group work. You try to motivate the student in making groups, and you make sure that in every group there must be brilliant and also little less brilliant student. And then group competitions, 4 or 5 groups, class must be divided in 4 or 5 groups, and then you try to compete each group, different groups, and then those who are not really performing well, you will find out they have also started performing brilliantly the moment you have divided in the groups. So responsibility, motivation, division of the student, and the challenge, giving challenge, that will certainly help you out. Even if there are different performers in your classroom, they will certainly have some upliftment in their performance.
Yeah. Okay, I think, is there any other questions? Yes, someone is wants to ask. Let me see if any. I think Hari Kalyani wants to ask. If you unmute yourself, you can put your questions. First unmute yourself. Hari Kalyani. Okay, I think any more questions from the participant? Okay. I think, sir, most of the participants asking about your PPT. So yes, if you can share that one, and that will be also helpful for them also, because some slides they are unable to see it.
Okay.
So they want to see it, and they want to understand that one also.
I will share this PPT with you, and yes, you can send this PPT to the participant.
Yes, sir, yes. I can share your PPT to the participant. So I think we don't have any questions. So let me thank you for your innovative and effective teaching or the presentation about the topic on the perspective of effective teaching. What I understood from the presentation, I think most of the participants also understood that it is not about the only teaching. It is rather you need to identify the problem. Then you work on that and see exactly you want to know what student is interested to learn from the teachers. So for that, you not only be responsible for that one, but also choose the innovative way. What Dr. Nalin Bharti sir told about it, that already we have a lot of information in the digital mode. So you cannot only take those information and only directly transferring to the students, because students are much more ahead than the teachers in terms of digital form. So we need to understand and develop certain concepts, like Sir told about that, how he allowed the students to visit industry so that they can see the issues, because in the classroom you may understand the concept, but the real situation, the real issues, you can only find it when you are actually facing it. So I think that experience also helped the students, all the participants, that why this particular subject, which is more important, can more important for them. And I'm thankful, sir, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us today on the very important topic. And I'm sure our participant really enjoyed your session. So with this, I think we'll
yes, sir, it was.
So I will stop this session from here. And I think again we'll be fortunate that we'll get Dr. Nalini Bharti sir again in our another talk, that is on 17th on the second half, and he will be delivering the topic on modern teaching approach. So there also you'll be discussing about what are the techniques you need to adopt so that the teaching can also be effective. So these two are more related. So I hope the next topic will also interesting and will also helpful to our participant. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.